Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Summer School. Today, we have another amazing guest. We have Alex Blake, all the way from Charleston, and she's actually amazing. She shoots more so like in the senior space, in the brand space, which I think will be really fun to have on because, you know, we have a lot of wedding photography based speakers, not all of them. Like, we've had music producers, we've had business people. So, it has been, a wider net. But in specific, we've never had anyone talk about anything senior photography. And I'm sure there's so many people that listen that do that. So I'm very excited to have you on and hear like why you're passionate about it and, what kind of goes into like doing that as a real business. Cause I bet a lot of people kind of like me kind of started in that. But like by started in it, you like take like photos for like $100 and then you never really do it again, like, and so, I know in theory how the business in that world is structured, but it'd be really cool to hear from you, like what it means to like really be pursuing that full time, like not to be pursuing weddings and, all those things. So anyways, tell us about yourself. What got you into like senior photography in specific and, just what you're up to these days?
Yeah. Well, hello, my little summer school podcaster friends. Yeah. So, like Summer said, I'm Alex Blake. I live in Charleston, South Carolina currently, but my husband and I actually just moved here 2 years ago. So, something unique too is yes, I mainly do seniors and brands, but really in the Charleston area, I've only been doing that for 2 years, which is like crazy because I had to rebuild my business. But before that, I was also in Georgia. Summer, I know you're from Georgia too. But we're from different parts, right? Where in Georgia are you from?
From like north of Atlanta, Canton, Georgia.
Oh, actually, we're pretty close. Never mind.
Wait, where were you from?
Like Lawrenceville
Oh
area.
yeah, not too bad. My aunt
Yeah.
lived in Lawrenceville.
Oh, there you go. What a small world. I
There
wonder
you
if I knew
go.
your aunt. We'll talk
Who
after.
knows?
Anyway, so yeah, so I started my business in Georgia. It was really cool because I got my first camera in 2015 and just kind of started learning it like everybody does, took their friends out, take pictures, like the classic, like learning my camera kind of situation. And then in probably 2017, I started serving at my church's like youth ministry. And they really needed like a social media person. Like they were really slacking at it at the time. Like it looked bad. And so I was like, hey, I would love to take pictures. I'd love to like run this for you and kind of do this. And they were like, yeah, sure. Sounds good. But it was really cool because like it sucked. Like all of my pictures sucked at that time. Like I was still really learning. But what was really fun about it was I got to meet a huge client base and get to meet all of these students that were graduating high school soon. And then B, too, it helped me to learn my settings really well because I would go from like outside where they're like playing basketball, hanging out, talking sort of thing to like the lobby where our church lobby was really yellow and orange and like not great lighting at all to then like stage pictures and like as the students would go on stage for games and then like the worship pictures and like really learning the different lighting there. So that was kind of like where I started, where it was like very fast paced and, like even like events, right? Like for weddings, it's kind of event oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to learn these different lightings very quickly. And that's kind of how I started, which I think really, really helped me kind of from the get-go. But like I said, I got to meet a lot of seniors at that time. So I was really just word of mouth then, but I just like loved those seniors mostly for like the people aspect than even like the pictures at that time. I didn't really know what I wanted to niche down in. And then I was like, I'm going to do weddings and I'm going to do couples. And I really like started phasing out my seniors actually.
Mm.
And yeah, and this is maybe 2020 at this time where I still had senior clients, but I wasn't posting them. I was trying to go after the couples and the weddings. And then I discovered that I didn't really like weddings. And I would like do it and I'm like, I don't think this is my thing because I would be so tired from it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I loved people. So of course I loved like those couples that I was hanging out with and getting to know. But at the end of an 8-hour wedding day, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, I really don't, because that is tough work. And I also have an inflammatory disease. So I was like, I just don't think I'm like cut out for this. And so eventually I started realizing that I really love creative portraits. And that was like, okay, I love like the art form and getting to talk to a single person and get to know that person really well, build relationship with them. And really what that veered into is me going back to senior portraits and really building that up. So I started phasing out then my couples and the wedding content and bringing back back the seniors. So that's been really since like 2021 probably that I've been doing that. And then in 2022, that's when my husband and I moved here. And really since being in Charleston, all I've done is graduating seniors and then local brands to Charleston.
Mm.
So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I really went into
How
a
did
deep
you go
dive about my
about
life.
finding seniors in the new city? Because you had such a easy, like not easy, but like you
Hmm.
had connections with seniors in your other town. Coming to
Yeah.
Charleston, was it hard to like adjust to that?
So I knew that I was going to move, so I really tried to prep for it. Because of the nature of our move, I couldn't really like share it publicly on social media until it was like time for us to move. So that kind of sucked, but I was able to like DM people. And so I was like super creepy and would find seniors on Instagram and DM them and say, "Hey, I'm a senior photographer. I'm moving here, blah, blah, blah." It wasn't as creepy as I make it sound because I also had like the work to back it up of my previous clients at home. So that helped. And then I took 2 trips here before moving and got seniors, whether it was discounted or for free. And those helped me to like last for the
Mm.
rest of the school year, really. So when we moved in December, which is a really hard time to move and make a business. And I did not make a cent for like 2 months when we
Mm.
moved because all I was doing was building. And so DMing those seniors and then like I would follow the seniors that I did work with, discounted or for free. I would follow all of their friends. I would follow all of the cheer team from the cheer team Instagram of like our local schools. Like I
Does
said, it
it
was
ever
slightly
feel
creepy.
weird as an adult to like be doing that?
Totally. But I will say one important thing is like I always say like talk to your parents about it and then get back to me so it feels safe to them. I just invite their parents into it and then if it's ever a free or a discounted session that I'm offering them like that, I ask for their parents' email and stuff and add them into my booking system with their parent included on it. And then it just helps everyone in the party to feel safe.
Do parents come to some of your sessions? Like my mom was at my senior session, but I
Hmm.
don't know if you enjoy that or if it's like annoying. This is just a random question that popped into my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, senior photography is so interesting because you have 2 clients. You have the senior and you have the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very rare that I would have just a dad, but it is most common that I have just a mom who comes. So they all know all of my clients, I allow up to 2 people to come. So sometimes it's like sister and mom, sometimes it's mom and dad, sometimes it's best friend. But yeah, my local seniors, because I also, I'm in a destination town. And so I
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of tourist seniors. That's like my main client base over the summer. And then my local seniors, sometimes they'll come alone, but my destination seniors, like a lot of them will come with both of their parents.
Destination seniors. It sounds like it's like taking what some would think is like a niche thing to like shoot seniors, and you're like, yeah, I have them
Totally.
like they're coming in on their family vacation, and they're hiring me. Like, are they
Yeah.
mostly? How are they finding you? Are they mostly finding you on social media?
Yeah, Instagram and TikTok mostly. And it really is crazy. Like, it's also wild. When I was kind of at the tail end of living in Georgia is when I started growing on specifically Instagram and then some on TikTok. And I had a couple of videos that went viral and people like traveled to me in Northeast Atlanta. Like, who cares about Lawrenceville, Georgia, But I had people who were like, I want a field shoot, but I like want you to do it. And so that's when really it started. And then I started marketing for that specifically on TikTok for a while when I moved to Charleston, because I was like, who doesn't want to come to Charleston? So I have like, I would say probably half and half specifically over the summer that are coming for their family vacation and find me versus who are coming to Charleston to shoot with me and then make it a vacation.
That's wild.
I know it really is.
That's so like neat. I mean, I also like we couldn't afford senior photos, so I
Yeah,
cannot picture that as my childhood, but I know that there are people out there because they're
I
hiring
know.
you. You know
I
what I
know.
mean?
And it's so crazy. I have to tell people a lot of the time, like in my mentorships meetings, they're like, I cannot charge this much. Like, I can't charge this much for my stuff. And I'm like, but you're not your ideal client.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to like preach that to myself too, because like totally me too for my childhood. Like, I'm not going somewhere for vacation to get my senior pictures, but my clients do it. And I'm just not my ideal client. Like, they are. So I have a lot of like private school kids and it's just a different life. Like,
Yeah.
they're spending spring break in Europe and I'm not. So
No, 100%. With my senior pictures, there was a senior picture photographer in town, kind of like the you of our town. She was
Mhm.
older, but she had like a little like affiliate team of like the
Yeah.
cool kids, you know?
Yep.
And she was like the person you should hire because all the cool kids hire her. And they all
So
like
funny.
post their pics. Like it's like a marketing thing in the senior world.
Yes.
Like you choose like, yeah, literally like the popular kids and somehow you have to know who they are. Um,
Yeah.
and then they post the pictures and then everyone in school then thinks they need their photos done by this person. And,
Yes.
you know, I was getting into photography at that time. So me and this photographer kind of had a relationship, like online, like social media.
Mhm.
And so one time I reached out, I was like, what are your prices? And she told me they're probably not that high in hindsight, but it was like at least $500, which I mean, back
Yeah.
then I feel like
Yeah.
was high for back then. Like, you know,
Mhm.
like now, maybe not as much, but I feel like back then that was like a pretty high starting
Totally.
price for that in my small town in Georgia.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I can't afford it. Um, thanks though." But we were just like talking about cameras and stuff, and she was like, "You know what? I kind of want to do like something more naturey. Like if you'll model for me, I'll do it." And I was like,
Oh, that's fun.
"Deal." Which maybe she was also using me in some ways marketing. I didn't think about it back then like that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But like
Totally.
I was a cheerleader. I knew a ton of people. I had a social media presence.
Yeah,
So
she scoped you out
in
for
hindsight, I'm
sure.
like, I guess I was beneficial for her as well. But yeah, my mom came and we were together for like 3 or 4 hours because she was like, yeah, I'd never like, no one ever wants to go to the mountains. Like, let's go to the mountains. I'm
Oh,
like,
that's so fun.
okay, cool. But yeah, no, like, I would not have had, I don't think I would have had senior photos if it wasn't for that. Or like my
Yeah.
boyfriend would have taken them on my camera or something,
Yeah.
you know?
That is one thing. Like, I do multiple giveaways a year because I always want people to be able to have access to senior photos. I will say, too, being in Charleston, like, we have a lot of photographers here.
I
It's a very
bet.
saturated market. And a lot of people, I do think I'm different in that my niche is seniors, where a lot of people have like, their main niche isn't seniors. It's kind of like the add on, the way that brands is to me, where it's like, oh, it's the add on that I do just for fun,
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, those are like the cheaper option. But if someone wants like the full experience side of things, that's when like they'll come to me. But like I said, I like to do giveaways too, to just, yeah, I never want to be like too high and mighty and only go after the cool kids. You know what I mean? Like everyone is a senior and everyone deserves senior photos if there's an opportunity there for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, and it makes like the pricing in my mind for that she had makes sense, especially now
Hmm.
looking back at the neighborhoods near our high school. I just did not live in one of those.
Yeah.
I was not
Yeah.
initially zoned for that school. So, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
it
It's
wasn't
also
bad.
interesting. Like you have to think about it too. And like the way that you charge one as a wedding photographer, you charge kind of one lump sum
True.
and you know how many weddings you have to book in order to make your income, right? And then like for you, sessions that you do, like maybe engagement or couple sessions, those are just kind of like
Yeah,
for
they're just like
fun.
extra. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me and senior photographers, it's different because those are my big lump sum. You know what I mean? Like the senior sessions that I'm doing are adding up to my full
You guys
income.
have to shoot so much more
Yeah.
to make a livable income.
But to me, it doesn't feel like it's so funny because I never thought this
It
was an
probably doesn't feel that
option.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was like doing those weddings, because I just thought that was what photographers do. Like, I like photography. I like being creative. I have to do weddings, like
Mm-hmm.
I just never saw anything outside of that. And so, yeah, when I realized like, oh, instead of an 8-hour wedding, I could do 8 1-hour sessions. Like this sounds better to me. And so, yeah. And now it's cool too. I actually have an associate shooter under me who's like on my team. I've trained her up. And this is like a recent thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
just started training her back in August. She's doing phenomenal. She came as a photo camp attendee, has been like learning under me and everything. And she's done 2 sessions for me. But hopefully next year she'll take a good amount of my tourist seniors.
Mm.
And especially the ones we were talking before we started recording about like the beach and sunset being so late in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
She'll take a lot of those because she actually lives closer to the beach. So I'm excited for that too and how that kind of like ramps up my business with my seniors.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I might only need to secure like, well, in today's business, because I'm teaching as well, I might only need to secure
Hmm.
like 10 wedding clients.
Right.
Maybe 15 if I want to, maybe less if I don't want to. And, normal wedding business, I was doing like 20 plus, 30 plus,
Yeah.
and that was too much. But for seniors, I mean, yeah, you're probably having to hit like 5 times that or something,
Yeah,
like a
and I
lot.
think it depends. So I think that's where like your price really matters, right? The lower your price is, the more you have to shoot. So my price is higher because I don't want to shoot that much,
Mhm.
honestly. Like I love to shoot, but I really just want to be in that like 2 times a week range. I don't want to be in the like 5 times a week range, which I found
Yeah.
myself in before. And really like again, this is a hard thing because I have tourist season. And
Yeah.
so that's why I'm like, I need an associate shooter specifically for next spring and summer, because otherwise I'll find myself doing 5 times a week because they're only here for that week
I've
and then they
heard
leave.
on a podcast a photographer say like she shoots like 3 to 5 times a week. And I swear this person was a wedding photographer. So I was like, "What are you doing? Like what are
Yeah.
your price? What is happening? Why are you doing this?" And I was like, "Is this like a seal of approval that you are really busy?" And I was like, "I could never. I would literally
No.
die. I would literally but I swear she was a couples photographer. So for me, I was just like, I don't see how this makes sense in couples
Yeah.
photography. Like I just don't see why you would need, unless your prices are really low and you're needing to like
Right.
crank out 3 to 5 engagement sessions maybe. But I was like, I just don't understand. And I was like, maybe it was also just a lie of like, yeah, I shoot all the time. I shoot like
Yeah.
multiple times a week, But I listened to that podcast and I was like, oh, I
Oh
I'm like, I
no.
would literally physically like not be okay. And then also
Yeah.
like my business would struggle so much. It'd be so hard to
Right.
communicate with clients because I swear this person was a wedding photographer. So I was like,
Yeah. I
how
do
and
have
why
a
are you doing
friend.
that?
I have a friend who's a wedding photographer and he probably shoots that much,
Oh my
honestly.
gosh.
I know. And every time I talk to him, I'm like, I don't know how you're not exhausted.
How are you
But one of
alive?
the
How are you
things that
editing?
I
How
know,
are you
literally,
communicating with your clients?
but one of the things that he shared, just kind of in a moment of like vulnerability, was that he does that because he's always afraid of like financial insecurity.
Hmm.
And I don't know what his prices look like. I have like zero idea on that back end, but like I feel like that's where it's important to plan out again, like how many you need to book in order
Mm-hmm.
to make this much. And this is what I need to pay rent. And this is like kind of budgeting it out ahead of time a little bit so that you don't find yourself in that predicament on accident
No, 100%. I mean,
because it does
I've
lead to burnout.
overbooked myself, but it was nothing like that. Like
Right.
me overbooking myself is probably like a normal person just booking themselves like normal. But I struggled so hard. I got sick so much, like because
Yeah.
my immune system, my body just couldn't keep up.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
why I hated weddings, man.
I know. And me thinking about having to shoot multiple times a week, I'm like, oh, I haven't touched my
It's so
camera in
funny.
like
Like
2 weeks.
everyone's so different, you
I
know?
know.
But that's why I love like getting to talk about there are different niches out there. Like if you hate weddings, you don't have to do them. If you hate shooting multiple times a week for seniors, you don't have to do them. Like it's fine. Just
What
pick
would
what you like
be
to do.
if someone wants to shoot seniors? They're hearing this. They're like, "Yeah, Alex, I also don't want to shoot weddings. This sucks." What would be like your number one tip of advice, like getting started? Like kind of like you said, like trying to find the seniors. Like, what if someone
Mhm.
is like I don't run into high schoolers. Like, what if like what would you tell them if you met someone that's like, I really want to get into senior photography? Like, what do I do?
Yeah. So I do think like really everything I said earlier is still like applicable. You can DM people, all of that kind of stuff. But I do think again that for me, when I was DMing them, it wasn't creepy because I had the work to show for it.
Hmm.
So before you do the DMs, if you have any other option to reach out to people and say, like, hey, I know you have a kid in high school. I know that like people are in high school all the time. Like I know you might not run into them all the time, but you probably know someone who knows a high schooler, you know? And it doesn't even have to be a senior. If they're a junior, that's even better, honestly, because it gets you for next year too,
Hmm.
because they're going to post and tag you. So yeah, just again, I think free sessions are always wise when you're trying to get into a niche. I don't think you should do a million of them because you have to know your worth too and teach people in our industry
And I'm sure
what
the
our
word would
worth is.
spread. Like, oh, I got them for
hmm
free.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't need to do that all the time. But yeah, like put stipulations on it, send them a contract, be professional the whole time. But like I said, if you find one or two, then you can utilize those as a portfolio to DM and message other people.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if this is like a weird Charleston thing, but if any other area is like this, a weird Charleston thing is that like people love Facebook here.
Hmm.
It's very interesting. I moved, like I said, from Atlanta, and Facebook was dead there. And I moved here and it's like popping. And we have like a Charleston girls group and a Charleston women's group and like a 20 somethings. And it's just
Wow.
crazy. I know Charleston photographers, like we have everything. I utilized those a lot when I came to just to get in with the parents. So even if you get in with the parents first and then try to find them from there, that's a great way to do it. You could also look for college grads and utilize that.
Hmm.
So there's lots of different options for it, but yeah,
Yeah, do you do lots of college graduations as well? Like, I know that's
I do
very similar
some.
photos, I guess, like in the structure of how the session would run.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because I personally don't love like what I feel like is more of the like cliche or classic kind of thing. So like
Mhm.
I don't do like on campus stuff for seniors. So like my portfolio is more like girls on the beach,
Mhm.
or like girls in a field sort of thing versus like the football stadium and stuff like that. And college grads usually want stuff that's on campus. So I've done a couple. We have a pretty big college here, like downtown Charleston. And yeah, I mean, I have one coming up. So it's not like I never do it, but it's not usually they don't usually see what they want in my portfolio that I'm posting, so they don't usually reach out, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. When I think college grad pics, it is very much like college, like
Yeah,
on the campus, like
right.
whereas
And College of
seniors, like I
Charleston,
think it's normal to take cute senior pictures, you know? Like
yes.
it's not it's almost let or even when I was a senior, it was really normal to not take any at the high school.
Right. And it
Yeah,
depends on where you are because there are some places where like senior pictures don't even exist. And then there are some
true.
places where senior pictures are only at the school. Like, it just really depends on your location. But I think that's cool too. If you're in a place where senior pictures don't exist, create a pathway. Like, and do
Mhm.
it. You'll be the only one who's doing it. It's going to be great. People are going to want those.
So true.
Um, but yeah, seniors a lot of the time want like cap and gown pictures too if it's in the spring. So yeah, that's interesting because some college grads will look at that and say like, "Oh, I really want that." But College of Charleston is weird and they don't do a cap and gown for their graduation.
Hmm.
So literally none of my portfolio really looks like what they would want. They just do white dresses and roses. Very random.
I mean, white dresses would work.
True. Yeah. But again, on campus.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. That's good to know, though. I mean, you have niched yourself into the
Yeah.
niche. I want to talk about a little bit about the fact that a lot of your stuff is done at the ocean because I feel like that's a lot
Mhm.
of your like reels that I see on my feed and stuff.
Yeah.
And even just like I don't know, this is just maybe me being nosy, but even the clients getting wet, you getting wet, I'm
Yeah.
just like this is I feel like that's a lot for a senior for them to like fully trust you enough to also like run into the ocean, which I feel like all of them are about
Totally.
it because I've literally seen them share it like on your behalf, like with Alex, like we love her. So I know that they're like obsessed with you, which is great. Your branding, marketing, it's all working. But were you always someone that was like, I want to literally have my seniors like run into the ocean and like literally get wet at the end of their session and stuff? Or was there like something that like switched? Because I feel like this is a big part of your brand, like the
Yeah.
ocean stuff.
Yeah. When I moved to Charleston, I feel like everything clicked for me. Like
Mm.
truly. And honestly, even like my growth in my business, everything, the presets that I came out with my first year in Charleston, like, and they're called coastal charm presets. So they're literally about the ocean. Like, I don't know. I think blue to me has been such an inspirational color. And before being in Georgia, I was shooting in fields and everything. And like,
Mhm.
I liked my work. It's not that my work wasn't good, but I just felt like I almost like came into myself as an artist,
Mm.
which is really cool. And even just like my brand in general when I moved by the beach. And what I have to be careful of, and if anyone's listening to this, be careful of this if this happens to you. But I have to be careful of like super going in on the beach brand just because obviously if I ever move a little
Away
bit
from the
more, yeah,
beach.
into like the suburbs of Charleston or whatever, then what happens? So we'll see over like the next couple years. My husband and I are in an apartment. So like if we move somewhere a little bit different that's less close to the beach, how I go about that. But either way, the beach in general was really appealing to me when I moved because all I shot in was fields before. What's interesting now is the longer I've been here, the more I realize the beach is the field here.
Yeah.
Like it's the one that everyone wants and stuff like that, which is cool. But at the same time, over summers when I am shooting, a ton with my tourists, it can get very like structured for me. So I have to like
Mm.
find ways to be creative in it. And one of the ways that I was originally creative with it was having the seniors run into the ocean. And that's when that started. And then
Mm-hmm.
it became not everyone does it. And some seniors, especially if it's like cold or if it's been a really windy session or if they're wearing a white dress, sometimes they'll be like, hey, I don't want that. But I always ask them before like prompting them to do it. I'll say like, hey, are you wanting to get in at the end? If so, make sure you bring a towel. Like I try to prep them ahead of time, but that came from trial and error too of them not bringing a towel,
And then you
or
just have
whatever
this
too.
freezing senior like half wet
Yeah.
in a dress.
Yeah.
Oh.
I use a changing tent if anyone, knows what that is, where you like pop it up and that's great for the beach so they can change into like dry clothes after. But yeah.
I feel like there's all these like tips and tricks and knickknacks with like senior photography. Like the
Yeah.
tent. Like I know you technically could use that in couples photography, but most time if they are, I don't know, there's normally easier opportunities to change potentially. I'm sure this could be okay thing for me to bring, but I've
Yeah.
never necessarily needed it as much. But with seniors, sometimes they're changing multiple times. Like,
Yeah. I
you're
definitely think it's helpful, like, even for couples, if you're like on a mountain and it's a more remote
true.
place or whatever. But I guess also, I don't know. I mean, I guess the beach is helpful, but like if it's remote, I feel like you just turn around and the couples change really quick or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But where I am, and especially for seniors, they feel so like self conscious a lot of the time. You got to give them
Yeah.
their privacy and their space. So,
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
for me, like my sessions sometimes are very long these days. They're like 2 to 3
Hmm.
plus hours. But with that, we're not shooting for 2 to 3 hours. Like everyone
Yeah.
would hate me if I made them do that. So we normally have a break in between. So it's like, they can change like at the restaurant, like in a bathroom,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
or like eating or getting a drink together or who
Yeah.
knows what. So we always have like a real break. So, but I do see like even in my own senior session, how that would have been helpful because I mean,
Yeah.
easier than changing a car.
Right. And that's what I used to do before I got my changing tent. And like, you know, the only time where seniors will opt in to change into the car is when it's summer and it's so blazing hot that it's like they want AC. So they'll hop in
Mhm.
there. But something I also do is like you said, like if I have a 2 location package and for that 2 location, I tell them they can stop at like I have like certain places depending on where we are that I tell them they can stop to change in the bathroom if they
Mm.
want AC and just like to have a second. Because similar to you, like if I told them to pose there and smile for 2 hours for that 2 location shoot, they're going to hate me and not have a good experience. So, like, we're going to walk around, we're going to take a break, we're going to have some AC, all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff.
So fun. Well, you're probably pretty extroverted as well then when it comes to like seniors and things. I feel like you have to give good energy with seniors because I feel like it's just like
Yeah.
the age range where they need that kind of like confidence and stuff. So I feel like the
Yeah.
way that you even go about your shoots is probably so much differently than wedding photography. Do you feel that? I mean, this could be me assuming this because I'm not a senior photographer, so this is why I'm asking, but like I'm sure you probably go in there with like almost like their little hype woman and stuff like that. Like is that kind of more common, you would say, that you're finding yourself like you probably are naturally that way. It's probably what draws you to them. But
Hmm.
I feel like that would be a way I'd struggle, honestly, probably because I don't have as much of that like natural in me. But I feel like seniors, in my opinion, like thinking back on high school, like I would need that like
Yeah.
boost of confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I do think I am naturally that way. And that's where it kind of connects for me to where I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I meant to do in photography. Got it. And so that's really helpful. But I also think like that seniors, most of the time, they do need the boost of confidence. Like you said, they are struggling, whether that's like with insecurity because they're comparing themselves, or sometimes it's like, their mom is there and I need to kind of be a
Mm-hmm.
buffer almost, which sounds terrible, but sometimes the mom will not speak in kind ways to the child. And so I've got to kind of like love on the senior to help them to feel beautiful in the moment. There's
Mm-hmm.
lots of different ways where it's like a helpful thing to be their hype woman. And sometimes it's cringy, but I laugh at myself. I'm like, wait, did I just say that? Like, cause I'll say a word wrong because I'm just like talking. But I try really hard. And this could be annoying to some people, but I try really hard to never let there be silence. So
Mm.
if I'm walking in and we're like walking in a park to the next place that we're shooting, I'm asking questions, I'm talking, I'm like, well, yeah, this happened the other day. Can you guys believe that? And it can be something the most random thing. And again, it's probably annoying sometimes, but I'd rather be annoying than them ever feel awkward. So I'm
Mm.
going to like ask a bunch of questions to be invested in their life, ask their parents questions, and just let them like let conversation flow the whole time because that's how they feel comfortable. But I also will say, like, you don't have to be extroverted to be a senior photographer. You just have to know your lane too.
Mhm.
Because I'm going to attract a certain type of senior, but there are certain types of seniors that are you, Summer. Like if you wanted to be a senior photographer, you could. You're going to attract the artsy and the creative and the girls who, yeah, like are doing photography in high school. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like you're just going to attract a different type of person. And that's a good thing because
Mm.
everyone, again, like everyone needs someone to connect to. And I try to be someone that anyone can connect to. But again, I'm going to naturally attract, you know, a
Mm.
certain type of person.
Do you shoot guys as well? Guys seniors?
I do, but I used to a lot more.
Mm.
But I really think like my honestly, like all of my business is really a like what I've post, I've gotten. It's a
Yeah.
testament to that. Like what you post is what you get.
That is
And
so true. I was mentoring
yeah,
someone the other day and they were like asking, which maybe they're listening to this, so LOL. I'm sorry if I'm sharing your story, but they were asking like, well, you know, maybe I lost a little bit of followers or a little bit of engagement posting this, but I like this. It makes me
yeah,
excited. This is what I enjoy. And I'm like, okay, post more of that. Who cares if you lose some people
right.
for like a month? You know, you're gonna gain like the
Yeah,
right people and like the people that actually like
yeah,
will enjoy your stuff. And there was like a big thought of like, well, how do I get the bookings for this? And I'm like, you got to share it. Like
yeah,
people are only going to hire you for like what you're putting out into the world. They're not going to hire you for like what you're not. And so if that's what
yeah.
you want to book, like you got to
That's so
post it.
good.
You got to share it. You know, you got to literally make it everything about your brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's so good. And I think like honestly, like I've dealt with that too. And I'm dealing with it right now. My engagement is a little bit lower on Instagram right now because I just had photo camp, my
Mm.
educational content weekend. And like with that, I've been gearing things more towards photographers for the last like 2 weeks, probably. And so I have random seniors that follow me and random people who used to be seniors that follow me and just kind of still do.
And they're
And they
probably
see
like, what
this
is
and they're like,
this?
yeah, and they just don't resonate with it anymore. So they unfollow me. That's fine. You know, like it's okay. If you don't resonate with senior clients and you don't resonate with photographers, it's okay that you leave. Like it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes like we can take it too personally when really it's like not even about me.
No.
Like
And I
they
always
just,
tell people, like, I think the biggest misconception is like you have to share everything you're currently shooting. And it's like, no, sometimes you need
mm-hmm,
to shoot something because you need to make some money.
mm-hmm,
You don't have to share that. And if someone got mad, I'm sorry, that's that client's fault. Like you are running a business. Like,
yeah,
and I always tell people, like, you need to share for what future you wants to book. Like, think of yourself
yeah,
in like a year, share that. Don't think of
yeah,
yourself right now. Right now doesn't matter. Not right now, it's not growing next year, you
right.
know?
No, and that's so good. And that's when it goes back to, okay, you want to shoot seniors? Go shoot some for free and post that, even if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing a ton of couples paid. You know,
Or
like,
families and you like hate it, but you want to
yeah,
transition. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So true. Man. Well, tell us a little bit about photo camp before we like ever get near wrapping things up. Tell everyone listening, since obviously they're probably listening because they want to learn things about photography. You're
Yeah.
having camps kind of geared around a lot of what we're talking about. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about photo camp, like what it is, how it started, all the things.
All of the things. Okay, so Photo Camp, like I said, is my educational content weekend for photographers. It's on Folly Beach, South Carolina, which is about 30 minutes from me, but I shoot there a ton. So honestly, if you
Mm.
look at my page and you see all the beaches, it's probably at Folly. Yeah, so it's on Folly. We have 10 styled shoots throughout the weekend. And then for 2025, we have 5 educational speakers. One of them was just on your podcast, which is
Yes.
fun. And her name is Georgia, which is also your future baby.
I know, I know.
So
Crazy.
exciting. Yeah, so we have 5 educational speakers, and then we're all in like a luxury camp house by the beach. So that's kind of like the really quick overview of it. But guys, it's so fun. Like it is my favorite weekend of the whole year. For 2024, I did 2 because I couldn't not. Like I did one and then I was like, I have to do another. I was
I
addicted.
almost did 2 of my camp, and then
Really?
I was like, everyone, my husband included, was like, "Summer, you'll be so pregnant." And I was like, "Yeah." And in hindsight, I'm
Yeah.
glad that I listened to them, but I was so tempted. I was like, "We need a fall summer camp. We need to
I
like roast
know.
marshmallows, you guys." Like
That was,
that would have been so
yeah.
fun.
I will say though, they were all probably right
I know
because
they were totally
I'm
right.
not
I would have
pregnant.
died. I literally would have
Yeah.
died.
Like, I'm not pregnant, and it
It's
was
a lot.
tiring.
No,
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
lot, but I'm so grateful that I did it, and it kind of, like, was helpful too to learn so much, and I feel ahead now that I'm going
Mhm.
into 2025, and yeah, the next one is in March. It's March 13th through 15th, and if anybody wants information, they can go to photocampinfo.com.
Perfect.
That's
I
my
will
little
put it
plug.
in. Hopefully, you put it in your little question. I'll put it in their show
Yeah.
notes and all the
Perfect.
things. So
Yeah.
fun. So, who's teaching at the next one?
Okay,
Do
you're
you
putting me
know?
to the test. Me, Alex Blake, Preston Luke, and he is like senior photo king. So I was about to say queen. That's me, I guess. The king. Yeah. So if you have questions on that, he's like incredible at it. So he can answer like all of your questions too at Photo Camp. And then Georgia and Micah McMaster, who you just had on the
Mhm.
podcast. And then Danielle Hickman. Her Instagram is like Danielle Photog. So yeah, a lot of people don't know her last name, but that's her Instagram. Do you follow her? Do you know
Mhm.
off the top of your head? She's so talented,
Mhm.
like just so incredible. And then Shelby Cuenca. So she's shelby.cc on
Mm.
Instagram, but she does creative portraits. Honestly, she'd be great to have on your podcast too, because she's
Cool.
just incredible. She's actually my neighbor.
No.
I know, isn't that funny?
So fun. Like in the same apartment building?
Oh yeah, like I
No
could if I were in
way.
my living room, I can look at her. We like wave at each other
Did you
from our
plan
living room.
this or did you meet each other like after you lived in the same place?
So her husband's also a photographer,
Mm.
and her husband Ian and I went to like high school ministry at church together. Isn't that random in
That's
Georgia?
wild.
I know. So then we moved here and they were thinking about moving to Charleston. So they DM'd us and asked if they could come and visit. And they did. And now they're our neighbor,
That's
like
crazy.
in our apartment complex.
That's kind of like, well, not through church, but Jake knew a music producer. And when
Yeah.
Jake was working at the recording studio, he took kind of the role of a guy that had left because he ended up doing really well, moved to LA with
Mhm.
his family. And Jake had known this guy, I mean, for like over a decade. He had played in his band. Like that guy had an old band. They all went and performed at South by Southwest when Jake was like 20 years old. So he's known this guy forever. And when we visited LA, Jake stayed with him because I was going to a photography conference. And so he couldn't stay with me because I was staying with another speaker. So
Mhm.
Jake came, stayed with him, and then we were like, we should move here. And so we came back like a month later, got dinner with them. And then when we got pregnant, we kind of like your friends, we were like, oh, we should live near them. So we literally only looked on Zillow, the 2 blocks surrounding
Stop it.
their place.
That's
And
so funny.
we were like, we want to live in their neighborhood. And so we only looked on 2 streets, like less than a third of a mile probably. Like,
That's so funny. But you're like picking your community,
so
ahead of time.
yeah, I could like toss a tennis ball and like make it in their complex's pool probably, but technically like we're on the same land, but we're on this street and they're on the other street, if that makes sense.
Crazy.
Yeah. So
That's
if we just dug
wild.
a hole, we could like walk from our parking to their pool.
Yeah, you guys should do that. Just dig a
Yeah.
little hole,
Add a little ladder, hop
Yeah.
on in. Yeah.
great.
So we kind of did that too, but we just knew like they have kids, they like the side of town. Like it's a really nice side of town. So yeah, we followed them
might as
here.
well. Yeah. It's so funny. It really has nothing to do with us, I'm sure. But like in my heart, they moved here for me,
100%. I mean, I guess we kind of, yeah, we followed them here. It's so funny, like full circle that he's known
I
this guy
know.
forever and took his job and now we are neighbors. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So many random
So,
connections.
Then that
But
guy's
yeah.
been on the podcast. Yeah. Shane
Really?
Lance. If any of
That's
you want to
so
go
funny.
listen to it, because of his presence on TikTok, he like wasn't on social media, hopped on TikTok and like is supporting a family of 3 kids,
Wow.
2 adults, wife stays home in LA, in a really nice side of LA, like
Dang.
because of this TikTok journey. And he was like a dad with no social media. So I'm like, if he can do it, all of you can do it too, who have excuses like I have
That's
kids
right.
or I'm too old. I'm not relevant. I'm like, you can do it.
That's
Oh.
awesome. I'm gonna go like follow his TikTok now and stalk him a
Probably
little bit because
just
that's
music
so cool.
producer things, but you know.
Yeah, but it's just a cool story, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure Zach is a musician, my husband too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm sure that he'll like love him.
Yeah, show it to him.
I know.
I
I
don't
want
even
Zach
know,
and
like-
Jake to be friends.
I know. They need to meet.
Yeah, they should.
Man, well, outside of photo camp and seniors, is there anything else you want to tell everyone? Any like if you were asked just on the streets, what's your number one tip for what you're doing in your life right now? Like,
That's such a hard question.
I know. I feel like since I know you, I can just like bring up random questions.
I love
But
it.
I'm trying to think like street interviewer because this sounds fun to ask. If you, because I love asking people just like the most random things at the end of these talks. But if you were asked something like that, just like for your life and how you've built your business or your art, creativity, doesn't have to be business.
Okay.
If you were just asked like what first pops into your mind if someone was like, hey, if you just ran into one of those like people on the streets that ask you those questions, hey, if you had something that you could tell everyone right now that would help them, what would you say?
Okay. Well, this is the first thing that popped into my head. I don't know if I thought about it longer, if I would maybe say something else, but
Which
we'll
is
go with
fine.
this
This is a
one.
candid, unscripted podcast.
Yes.
So whatever popped into your
Literally.
mind is what I want to know.
Okay, here's what I would say. Don't put your life, yourself, and your story in a box.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because I never thought that my story and my life would look like what it is today. Like, I never saw myself as a full-time photographer. Never did I ever expect to live in Charleston, South Carolina. I never thought that I would have a beautiful, thriving, healthy marriage to an amazing husband. Like, I didn't think those things for my life, but yet here we are. And yeah, and I think for me personally, I'm a Christian and I feel like for me too, it's like don't put God in a box. And like that has been something that I just seen like the box has been disproven over and over and over again in my life as I just like say yes to the next big thing. You know, like one step each time, just like take the right next step and see what happens. And then you look back and it's this like beautiful story of your life, but it takes intentionality at every step. But again, it's not like saying no to things just because you're like, well, this is my lane. You know, like this is my niche. This is my box. This is what I was supposed to do with my life. You know, like just because it doesn't look like something that you thought you were supposed to do doesn't mean that you can't like do it and do it really big and amazing and then like watch what God does with it. So, yeah.
Or maybe even you don't like value yourself enough to believe that you can do these things that you have the potential to do.
For sure.
Like have confidence, believe in yourself. So
Yeah.
the other question, what are you looking forward to most in the winter? This is airing in the winter. I have no idea at what point this is airing because I am batching some of these because I am pregnant and will not be able to do these in December.
Yeah.
But it will be winter.
Okay.
At least hopefully for you. Hopefully it won't be in the 80s by then.
I hope not.
What are you looking forward to most, like December, January? Like what is on the horizon for you? And it could be literally be Christmas and taking time off. It does not have to be photography.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Zach and I just decorated for Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
Same. I decorated like a week and a half ago.
I literally have a surfboard over there with like stockings on it.
So that's
cute.
so cute. I need to do that.
Yeah, you totally should. Yeah. So I really think like Christmas, I guess. Oh no, actually yesterday, Zach and I just planned a vacation to go visit. Do you know Cassidy Lynn? Have you met her? Yeah, Cassidy and her husband, Charlie. So we're getting to go visit them in Michigan. And we're super pumped because we're going to Florida for Thanksgiving and Florida for Christmas. So throwing Michigan in there is nice because it's not like hot. Because here it's like we're in the South and like we don't get like snow and stuff like that. So we're excited to like bundle up and have like winter fashion in Michigan.
That'll be really fun. That'll be very Christmassy. When are you going so that we know if we should stock and see these little Christmas pigs?
Yeah. It'll be like the first week of December because it's for Zach and I's anniversary. We're going to see Charlie and Cassidy for our anniversary.
I love that. I mean, I forgot about my own anniversary. So
oh no.
Literally we were like having the baby shower and my mom's like, isn't your anniversary in like 3 days? And I was like, oh, it is our first anniversary. And I was like, you know what? We don't need to celebrate ourselves. We just had a whole baby shower. We do not need to do anything else. I wake up the morning of our anniversary. I'm like, happy anniversary, Jake. And he was like, oh, I forgot. And I was like, it's fine. It's literally fine.
I forgot too, actually. That's so
I'm
funny.
like, there was just a lot. Yeah.
It'll be 5 years for me and Zach, which is crazy. Yeah.
That's
like
like you're a real adult. 5 years.
5 years of marriage, you know?
Yeah.
Ask us all the wedding advice, all the marriage advice.
That's
We're
crazy.
professionals now.
How old were you when you got married? Because I'm like, you look so young.
How old do you think I am? Guess.
26?
29.
Wow.
So I will take that. Yeah. So Zach and I were 24 when we got married, and he'll be 30 in December.
Oh yeah, because I knew all of this because Jake's 30.
Oh, yeah, we talked
I
about
feel like
this.
we talk, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, now you guys are just getting to listen to us talk.
I know.
But yeah, anyways, it's been so fun to have you on. If there's anything else you want to say, where people can find you, I know all of this will be linked, and I always tell everyone that. But if you want to say it out loud, just in case
Yeah,
someone is not able to like click on their phone, maybe they're driving and want to remember you off the top of their head, tell them where they can find you on
for sure.
Instagram, PhotoCamp, website, all the things.
Yeah. So I'm at Alex Blake Photography pretty much everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I do have a podcast as well. Summer's been on it as a
Mm-hmm.
guest, so you can go listen to that if you love all things Summer Grace. It's called Let's Create with Alex Blake. And what else? Oh, PhotoCamp. PhotoCamp events on Instagram or photocampinfo.com. Yeah,
Sweet. Oh my
that's all I
gosh, it's
got.
been so good having you on. If for anyone listening, if you love this episode, share it with a friend. If you have a friend that's a senior photographer, share it with them so they can connect with Alex. Go ahead, send it to whoever, put it on your stories. And I cannot wait to chat with all of you next week. And thank you so much, Alex, for joining us this week.
Bye.
Bye.